Live.
And I am Old New Dude here with my co-host
Richard York, Astro's Trueborn son.
On a Thursday, which is rare, but it happens. Life happens. So
life is funny that way.
And Richard, in his email, had here's what it says at the beginning of it. I cannot make it Wednesday and certainly hope you will wait until Thursday or Friday, but here's my notes. And I had to let him know, after the last time I did a video with his notes without him, I swear I'll never do it again.
Other than me having to botch Newcomb's paradox the next time.
Yeah, there you go.
It was fine.
All right, Cat 5. As usual, for the millions of people that are watching this, you already know we will start with the brains of the operation there, Richard, and then I'll just jump in with my stupid stuff every now and then.
Oh, thank you, sir.
No problem.
My lady, you ought cover your head, Sir Roderick told her as their horses plodded north. You will take a chill. It is only water, Sir Roderick, Catelyn replied. Her hair hung wet and heavy, a loose strand stuck to her forehead, and she could imagine how ragged and wild she must look, but for once she did not care. So this is one of our favorite undisguised characters expects not to be recognized chapters. So it's worth noting Kat's appearance is a bit more lowborn than usual.
Mm-hmm.
How Catelyn had dreaded those smiles. The sour leaf had stained Masha's teeth a dark red and made her smile a bloody horror. As David Lightbringer discussed this, there's lots of red smiles, slit throats, weirwood sap, red bloody smiles. He calls this the weirwood stigmata.
Mm-hmm.
And since Kat received the red smile for her first death, this is arguably foreshadowing as well.
Oh, yeah.
And there's actually, at least there's this repeated pattern in the books of injuries to, there's the throat slitting. There's frequently there's like arms and the chink in the armor and hand injuries and arm injuries and so forth. There's two sites of the Hammer of the Waters. There's the broken arm of Dorne and the neck. And so those are meant to symbolize those neck and arm injuries. The neck is, as we said, the weirwood stigmata. It kind of represents the traditional blood sacrifice to the gods of how they would slit an animal's throat and sacrifice. It kind of represents
Hold on.
Yeah, it's like you need to turn down some volume and something.
Yeah, usually I have it on off on the volume, but for some reason it was my tablet's arguing with me today and it won there for a minute.
So the arm represents Tyr sacrificing his arm for justice, and the neck, as I said, is the weirwood stigmata thing is kind of a blood sacrifice to the gods. There's actually a third site, arguably, which is the crater lake known as the God's Eye, and there are certainly plenty of Odin eye sacrifice symbolism in the story as well.
Oh yeah,
and I talked about some of the Tyr arm injury sacrifice things and the Odin sacrifices in Triplet Targaryen's episode 5.
Yeah,
which is the Jaime episode.
Yeah, which David Lightbringer definitely goes into all the Odin symbolism in his story.
Yeah. Mine was just a brief list and mentioning that he's doing these things, right? He's definitely, there's plenty of people who've listed like all the different things and so forth.
Yeah, we go for the quick kill, and David Lightbringer went for the slow kill in them long videos.
He's gone into more depth than us. That's all.
Yeah.
The banner in the hand of the foremost rider hung sodden and limp, but the guardsmen wore indigo cloaks, and on their shoulders flew the silver eagle of Seaguard. Mallister, Sir Roderick whispered to her as if she had not known. My lady, best pull up your hood. Catelyn made no move. Lord Jason Mallister himself rode with them, surrounded by his knights, his son Patrick by his side, and their squires close behind. She studied Lord Jason boldly. The last time she had seen him, he had been jesting with her uncle at her wedding feast. The Mallisters stood bannermen to the Tullys, and his gifts had been lavish. His brown hair was salted with white now, his face chiseled, gaunt by time, yet the years had not touched his pride. He rode like a man who feared nothing. Catelyn envied him that. She'd come to fear so much. As the riders passed, Lord Jason nodded a curt greeting, but it was only a high lord's courtesy to strangers chance met on the road. There was no recognition in those fierce eyes, and his son did not even waste a look. He did not know you, Sir Roderick said after, wondering. He saw a pair of mud-spattered travelers by the side of the road, wet and tired. It would never occur to him to suspect that one of them was the daughter of his liege lord. I think we shall be safe enough at the inn, Sir Roderick. So Catelyn's hair is wild, her appearance is less highborn, and she fully expects to be unrecognizable to both Jason Mallister and Masha Heddle, since they've not seen her since Robert's Rebellion. Catelyn is a beautiful woman, whereas Mance Rayder looks like nothing much. People who have not seen him since Robert's Rebellion would be far less likely to recognize him with his plain looks and long gray hair. So he should be far more confident than the bold Catelyn studying Jason Mallister's eyes for recognition.
Yeah. Well,
specifically, we get a description of him. If people don't believe me that he looks like nothing much, here's the description of him from Jon's first chapter in Storm. The king beyond the wall looked nothing like a king, nor even much a wildling. He was of middling height, slender, sharp-faced, with shrewd brown eyes and long brown hair that had gone mostly to gray. So Arthur is apparently not the most recognizable of former Kingsguards, if in fact we're correct and this is Arthur. The most recognizable former Kingsguard would be Sandor Clegane, the Hound. And he goes to see a king named after Robert, approaching a knight he knows well with no need for disguise. Similarly, Barristan, also a famous former Kingsguard, has no fear being recognized by Jorah, even as Jorah keeps wondering aloud who he is, thinking that he must know him. And for more on Shrewd Eyes and Mance Rayder, see Triplet Targaryens episode 6.
You wouldn't be plugging nothing in this stuff, would you?
Yeah, it's not like me and my dozen subscribers. It's not like you have to have 1,000 subscribers to monetize. So it's not like I'm going to get anything out of this.
Yeah, well, future civilizations will look back and do studies on us, so it'll be good.
You never know.
Yeah, well, I agree with everything that you said. You even have the boldness of a muddied, splattered traveler, possibly commoner, looking at a lord dead on. I mean, highborn don't look lowborn in the eye, and lowborn don't look highborn in the eye. And I agree, everybody sees what they want to see, or don't see what that's beneath them to see. But I'm sticking to my guns and saying that Mance Rayder is a glamour.
Well,
for Sir Arthur Dayne.
And I said, I don't think it's necessary. It doesn't mean that it's not happening, right? I mean,
right.
It is kind of interesting that he's middling height, and yet he grows. So it's almost as if he's disguised himself somehow shorter.
Right.
Because but I think the explanation is middling height could be maybe a little bit above average, and then average, he's right around average, but maybe just a tiny bit above, and then we don't know exactly how short Rattleshirt is, so maybe Rattleshirt's specifically short, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my theory, and like I said, the only one I'm guaranteed 100% that I know I'm right is Tormund is Lord Willem Dustin, but we'll talk about that at a different time. As far as the shadow cat scratching and the cloak with the red, and he still wears the cloak with the red even to this day. As far as
you're supposed to be my partner on Triplet Targaryens, you should say the one that you're 100% certain is Triplet Targaryens.
Yeah, that one too. But the thing is though, I didn't come up with that. I agree with
Neither did I.
but Lord Willem Dustin being Tormund, I ain't heard nobody say that except me. So that's my claim to fame.
I couldn't figure out how I couldn't figure out for a while. How can the Order of the Green Hand be so right on Jon Snow and their stuff with Val is like sort of there, almost there, and I couldn't quite make it fit with the idea that that Ned is raising the Trueborn Stark, and I could see the tie-in of the ages with Dany and Aegon, and how they're specifically hinted to be the exact same age, right? I could get all that, and it wasn't until Can I Try To on Reddit said to me, the triplet Targaryens and this way. And I'm like, of course that's what's going on here.
Oh yeah.
Kind of just clicked,
Yeah.
And then he said that wasn't his theory. That was the Great Busey's theory, and that's why I always say, can I try to in the Great Busey of unread it.
Yeah, most of the stuff that I had as a theory before I started the channel, I've had since season 2 of Game of Thrones, but I just never went on YouTube. I never watched YouTube.
Right.
I had nothing to do with YouTube until I watched my very first
Yeah.
Order of the Green Hand that my son said, "Hey, come watch this," and then I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah. I was I actually was my brother had reread the books and said like his first reread, he's like, I think Rhaegar might be Jon's father. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I was doing a read through, really probably my first reread of a Game of Thrones, and looking for that, right? And I was like, yeah, I think you're right, And then he's like, oh, and I think Arthur Dayne is Mance Rayder. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's got to be true, And then my other brother, my older brother, was like, did you know that they have all these theories on YouTube and stuff? And I'm like, oh really? And so he's like, yeah, they think Tyrion might be a Targaryen. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So then I started, watching the videos, and so every time I hear somebody say, oh, the only reason you think that Jon as Rhaegar's son is obvious is because of all these theories, I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? That was what I thought my first reread, from never having been online and looking for any of these theories. So, it was like, it's always puzzled me how people are like, oh, you think it's too obvious, but the person who says it's too obvious is Paris. Paris says it's wrong and too obvious. Like,
Right.
Like, Paris knows what she's talking about, guys. For those who don't know, Paris is the author's wife, and she specifically has said that's wrong and it's too obvious.
Funny thing is, I got through watching season 1. My son's telling me some of the stuff about the show and everything. I'm like, this is really cool. He's like, it's based on a book. And it was like, I forget what the conversation was. And he's like, the George R. R. Martin had made sure that Jon Snow's hair was black. And then he was talking about black hair and all that stuff. I said, Jon Snow's the king's son. And he's like, no, you need to read the books. I'm like, well, okay. But go ahead.
Yep. Where were we here? We got way off topic with the whole, because I was talking about Sandor and Barristan and all that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, trust me, us getting off topic because of me
it's our brand.
I know.
Okay, so Marillion. The last time I came away with more silver than I could carry, or would have if I hadn't lost it all betting on the Kingslayer to win the day. So we get occasional hints and reminders that try and let us know that Tyrion is telling the truth, and this is one of the many reminders that the Kingslayer lost, and that he always bets on his family and all that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And may he choke on it, Catelyn thought, but it was Bran she saw choking, drowning on his own blood. So there's some more slit throat symbolism. She's wishing ill on Tyrion, but there's some more slit throat Tyrion symbolism.
But I think it's odd that that before she sees Tyrion, she's automatically going to the Bran dying vision in her head, and it's already gearing her up, motivating her for what she's about to do before she sees Tyrion. So I see hidden fingers all through this thing.
Yeah, could be.
Which at the end, I'll go through what I pointed out.
Actually, we're at the end. This is a pretty short chapter. It's an okay one for us to have digressed, because there's not much. I mean, there's some more of there's some more mentions of Masha Heddle and her red smiles and things, and there's lots of exposition about the crossroads and which way to go, but her duty lies north and all this stuff, right?
Right.
And in fact, George loves to make us root for disastrous decisions, right?
Right.
This is sort of the way of tragedy and Shakespeare and so forth, right? Is we're in the head of the protagonist as they make the disastrous decision, or we're rooting for them as they make the disastrous decision.
Right.
And she's just said that they must not come to war. It must not come to that. And yet it's epic as she makes her disastrous decision. So
Well,
let's do the whole thing. I've got all the way from from Tyrion recognizing Catelyn all the way to the end because it's so dramatic, right?
right. Well, I mean, you and your damn quantum leap done got me looking at hidden strings every time I pick up the book now. And I mean, from Lord Mallister leaving in and riding in the rain, and then now there's exactly 2 rooms available. If Lord Mallister had stayed instead of riding in the rain, then those rooms wouldn't have been there, and Cat wouldn't have been there for Tyrion to come in. It's just a domino effect on so many decisions people make in the book that I see the 2 people playing Sybath, or the 2 entities. Yeah, I see it everywhere now, thanks to you.
And you do have me wondering, and I kind of like the idea that maybe we combine the Great Other with the Azor Ahai, as David Lightbringer has said, right? So now I'm trying to think about, how could that work if you've got the Great Other trapped in the Weirwood net, similarly playing chess against Bran, for example, maybe, and how much is he moving Euron, or is he taking over Euron, or what's going on there, and all that, right?
Right. Well, I mean, I've said it before, and it is I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember the exact quote from Littlefinger. Is once you learn what a man desires, you know how to move them. And then her having the flash of Bran before Tyrion gets there, after she's done told you all the things that she shouldn't do. Now, with that motivation from Bran, she does the exact thing she just said she should do.
It must not come to war.
Right.
And I even wrote down here at the end, it sure feels like Tyrion already knew that Catelyn was traveling. Why not just come up with some excuse like I was going to see my father to check on him because I'm not sure how ailing he is or something like that. I mean, she could have just said or Ned forgot something and I just had to run it back. I wanted to see him myself just because I missed the girls, and I mean it's she could have just come up with some story, right? But instead, because he, like I said, he already knew, and he doesn't know that she took the fastest ship in the world to get there and is not her way back, right? So it would be easy enough for her to say, anyway.
Yeah, she could be headed down as far as he knew.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She could easily be heading down and going to see her father.
Right. I mean, there's so many things that could happen there. She does the one thing that starts the dominoes going even further. Because, I mean, if you agree with the theory that Littlefinger was waiting at the inn at the crossroads for Brandon to get there so he could lie to Brandon and say that Rhaegar stole Lyanna away. So at the end of the crossroads is where the dominoes start falling for Robert's rebellion. And then now you got it at the end of the crossroad again. Yeah. There is, and it's based on a lie that Littlefinger told.
I actually think that line might really come from George, right? It's like basically he told a lie to the Starks because he wanted to get Brandon in trouble. And Brandon may have sent word to Ned, right? Yeah. And so it's possible, or maybe the king just believes that he might have sent word to Ned, and so he believes that Ned and Robert might be spreading this false, this lie, right? Yeah. And so he feels like he's obligated to order their execution to prevent them because he thinks they're committing treason and spreading a lie, right?
And you don't hear him say kill Benjen too.
Right.
It's only Robert and Ned. It has nothing to do with Benjen.
Right. And so the implication is that maybe he believes that they're fomenting rebellion by spreading a lie. And and so that's what triggers the rebellion is the execution order.
Right. Well, I mean, my thing is at the time that Littlefinger tells Brandon, Littlefinger is being moved by the Three-Eyed Crow because of what he desires. Revenge from Brandon. He wants Cat, all that kind of stuff.
He's definitely making the action because of what he desires, right? He definitely wants to get Brandon killed.
I'm saying there's hidden fingers on him.
Yeah. There may or may not. There almost don't need to be, though, because that's his motivation. That is his motivation.
Right. But that just goes back to the line, once you know what a man desires, you know how to move them. I'm saying that Littlefinger's being taught how to play the Game of Thrones by the Three-Eyed Crow. But, I mean, I could be wrong, but I
don't see any reason why he needs to be. I think it's already his motivation to do that, right?
Right. But I'm just to have somebody else playing the game Littlefinger's, because he brags about how he is the player, and I say that he's the pawn. That there's
Maybe.
somebody, the three-eyed crow above him is the one that's actually moving him to do the things that he does. I know it's up there.
Yeah. Once again, some of these things don't sound like they're necessary to me, but okay.
Well, I mean, if my theory or whoever's theory it is that there actually is two people playing the big giant Game of Thrones side quest.
No, I mean, I get that. Then everybody's a pawn, and they're a pawn of Bran the Great Other or whatever, right?
By somebody at the top. So my thing is that Littlefinger is even though he's bragging that he's a player, that he's actually just a pawn.
Could be.
Could be.
All right, let's do it. We'll do the whole thing. And one of the things I like about this is Roderick immediately figures out what's going on and backs her, right?
Right.
So anyway, his mismatched eyes considered the singer briefly, started to move away, and found Catelyn. He looked at her for a moment, puzzled. She turned her face away, but too late. The dwarf was smiling. Lady Stark, what an unexpected pleasure, he said. I was sorry to miss you at Winterfell. Marillion gaped at her, confusion giving way to chagrin as Catelyn rose slowly to her feet. She heard Sir Roderick curse. If only the man had lingered at the wall, she thought. If only. So there's some references, like you said, to potential manipulation.
Right.
Lady Stark? Masha Heddle said thickly. I was still Catelyn Tully the last time I bedded here. Notice that she's reminding everybody of the fact that she's the daughter of the liege lord of the Riverlands, and this place is filled with people from the Riverlands.
Oh, yeah.
I was still Catelyn Tully the last time I bedded here, she told the innkeep. She could hear the muttering, feel the eyes upon her. Catelyn glanced around the room at the faces of the knights and sworn swords and took a deep breath to slow the frantic beating of her heart. Did she dare take the risk? There was no time to think it through, only the moment and the sound of her own voice ringing in her ears. You in the corner, she said to an older man who she had not noticed until now. Is that the black bat of Harrenhal I see embroidered on your surcoat, sir? The man got to his feet. It is, my lady. And is Lady Went a true and honest friend of my father, Lord Hoster Tully of Riverrun? She is, the man replied stoutly. Sir Roderick rose quietly and loosened his sword in its scabbard. The dwarf was blinking at them, blank-faced, with puzzlement in his mismatched eyes. The red stallion was ever a welcome sight in Riverrun, she said to the trio by the fire. My father counts Janos Bracken among his oldest and most loyal bannermen. The three men-at-arms exchanged uncertain looks. Our lord is honored by his trust, one of them said hesitantly. I envy your father all these fine friends, Lannister quipped, but I did not quite see the purpose of this, Lady Stark. She ignored him, turning to the large party in blue and gray. They were the heart of the matter. There were more than 20 of them. I know your sigil as well, the twin towers of Frey. How fares your good lord, sirs? Their captain rose. Lord Walder as well, my lady. He plans to take a new wife on his 90th name day and has asked your lord father to honor the wedding with his presence. Tyrion Lannister sniggered. That was when Catelyn knew he was hers. This man came a guest into my house and there conspired to murder my son, a boy of 7. She proclaimed to the room at large, pointing. Sir Roderick moved to her side, his sword in hand. In the name of King Robert and the good lords you serve, I call upon you to seize him and help me return him to Winterfell to await the king's justice. She did not know what was more satisfying, the sound of a dozen swords drawn as one, or the look on Tyrion Lannister's face. It's amazing how satisfying our POV's mistakes managed to be.
Yeah.
Like, basically, the story the Myrni's blot. I erroneously told you Cantus. Cantus is great for Jon and Stannis and the Red Letter and possibly the idea that Mance Rayder knows glamours.
Yeah.
and so Cantus has a lot of good stuff to say. In fact, that that there's actually a second letter that has some of the same things wrong with it. I don't know if you caught that on Cantus yet, but there's there's arguably a second letter up north going to John that's got some of the same issues with it, making you wonder if there was a sort of a first and second attempt there. But the story in both cases of Danny and John is about them making the mistake of embracing war. And the story of Robb Stark is about him epically making the mistake of embracing war.
Yeah.
And the story of Catelyn is her making this epic mistake, dramatic, satisfying mistake of choosing war after she just said she needs to choose peace and do her duty.
Right.
And this book series, guys, just might be about the concept that peace is hard and that it's easy and epic to embrace war.
Did you see the interview? The guy who's playing Damon Targaryen or whatever. The guy,
sure.
Matt Smith or something. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, Matt Smith. Doctor Who. Yeah.
Every one of these people, all of them alive right now, has never seen war, but every one of them has always trained for war from the time they were little to now. Everybody's ready for a war, and there's no war.
That's not quite true. So keep in mind. I mean, just to clarify. We're about to meet Thoros. And Thoros has been to war, and he's basically pretty much remembered by everybody as the the greatest fighter in that war. He's going to win the melee. He's going to go deep in the joust and then win the melee without even apparently being tired of as a two-sport star, despite the fact that he's a fat, lazy slob. Maybe he's not. I don't know. Maybe he's not that. He seems pretty lazy. Whether he's really a slob, I don't know. But anyway, my point being, he must train. The guy is like amazing, right? I mean, he's winning melee. He's winning the biggest melee. He does lose a melee a year ago on Joffrey's name day. But he's really impressive until his sword burns out, and then he's easily defeated because he basically disarmed himself. He's destroyed his sword, and then his sword burns out. He's got a destroyed sword that's burned out. So of course he's easily defeated at that point. But in general, the guy seems kind of epic. But he's epic, and one of the reasons he's epic is because he was clearly the best fighter in the Greyjoy Rebellion, right? Right. Like everybody remembers him as this great fighter in the Greyjoy Rebellion.
Right.
But so my point is there is a war in people's history, right?
Right. But the interview is about the guy playing.
You're saying. I see. My mistake. You're saying.
Dance and Dragon. That everybody alive then has not seen war, but they've trained for it. So it was just like an itch getting ready to be scratched. And I mean, war there was like kindling. I mean, it didn't take much of a spark to get people fighting. Yeah. It was a pretty good interview. I didn't read it all.
No, I mean, and that is often the case with war, right? Is that there's people that imagine and what Dany's actually doing is she's as I think it's the Mary's Blot, is that what it's called? Anyway, as Adam says in that, the point of her story, and it's even made explicit at times, is that she finds peace unsatisfying, even though she's doing it perfectly, and one of her biggest moves that really wins the peace is her decision not to kill the hostages, right? I don't know if you've read that analysis, but did you read
also it? the marriage. I mean, it's going.
Yeah. She's doing everything right. She's doing everything right, and it's not satisfying her. And all the people in charge are the ones that intend to keep the peace with her, that really honor are amazed by her, partially because she doesn't kill the hostages. Right? She's de-escalated the situation and shown there can be peace, and that's the thing that's hard to do in life is to embrace the concept, especially of with people you hate, of de-escalating and choosing peace. And it's not the satisfying path. The satisfying path is the avenging dragon that embraces fire and blood and no compromises against evil. And the story is about her choosing that. And it's also about Jon like choosing war, right? He chooses to go to war, which is a violation of his oath, and arguably the Night's Watch correctly kills him. And part of the point of these books is when you want to decipher like what happened is who has the motive, right? I don't know if you've seen the Dragon Demands video on the riot, the bread riot. Highly recommend. So his point is every single thing that happens during the bread riot directly benefits Littlefinger, and Littlefinger knows all the details of the bread riot despite leaving beforehand.
Right.
And so similarly, right, who benefits from Jon choosing war? Well, that's Bowen Marsh, right? And so you ask the question, well, why does the pink letter why is it not sealed properly? Why does the handwriting not match? The answer is it's been altered, right? Because and like I said, the Order of Green Hand's gone into way more detail on that and done a better job than I could ever do. But the point is, yes, it contains information that came from Winterfell. Yes, it contains misinformation that may have come from Winterfell because Winterfell may have been misled by things with Stannis. But at the end of the day, what's happened here is somebody has benefited from some incorrect information in there. And some of the wording is wording that would basically only be used at the Wall or by wildlings, right? And so some people say, well, that means that Mance Rayder must have written it. But I think that an easy explanation is it's information that, you know, it's a tone that could be changed and maybe it's both, right? Maybe Cantus is right. Maybe Mance Rayder is currently glamored as Ramsay. He sent a letter, and then Bowen Marsh changed it. It can be both.
Yeah. Trust me, until the books come out, I'm open for anything, man. Somebody was talking the other day on Twitter, and I'm like, my ears perked up, and they said something. And of course, with my memory, I can't remember what they said. But I'd never heard it before, and then I instantly just, what? Is there something new? Please give me more information. I can't remember what it was, though.
No, you might have to go back and look through your feed.
Yeah.
Easy enough. Just click on the, tweets and replies and see what you're talking about last.
Yeah.
Anyway,
well, as soon as we get off here, I'll jump back on Twitter just to try to find it.
Yeah, and number one thing, don't forget, you need to if you're not already on board with Littlefinger started the bread riots, definitely check out the Dragon Demands video.
I got it written down.
Okay,
after I go on Twitter to find out what that person was talking about, because I can't stand not remembering something. It drives me crazy.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Sometimes if it's like way back, what I'll do is I'll go to the search bar and I'll type from : my Twitter handle space and what some of the words I thought were in it and try and figure out what I was talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have very bad memory problems. I can remember taking my 27-year-old to kindergarten his first day, but I can't remember what I bought my 7-year-old now this last Christmas. Stuff that happened last week is a complete blur. I have, unless it was a 10 on the memory scale of actions or consequences or. Oh,
we're a little over 11:30 here, 12:30 there, but I do want to say one of the things I've noticed in life. I know that Preston has commented that people lose time in the series, and of course that kind of matches the movie The Butterfly Effect and the concept of quantum leaping and so forth. But more it matches like life as you get older. Like you do something on autopilot, and if you let your brain go on autopilot while you're doing stuff and you're not practicing time or mindfulness and so forth, it is so easy to have zero memory of something. Like just afterwards, even right, and I kind of think that's what inspired that Adam Sandler movie about fast forwarding your life, right?
Oh, the blip or whatever they had,
glitch or something like that.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, though, I mean, and I always point out my son's Christmas because anybody that knows me in real life, I freaking love buying toys for my kids. Every Friday when my oldest went up, every Friday I go spend $150 at Walmart buying toys. I mean, I spoil them like crazy, and I love buying Christmas presents, and I can't wait. I'm one of those that try to give it to them early because I can't wait to see their face. And then the Christmas morning, I'm just sitting there. I can't wait for them to open their presents, and I can care less what I get. But for me not to remember even one single toy from that day of something that I freaking it pisses me off. So it's just, I'm sorry.
No problem.
But all right.
Such as like
next chapter is
Sansa, the tournament. Thoros.
Ooh,
We're gonna meet Thoros.
Yes, this is you're all right.
I don't think he's gonna win yet. He's not gonna win yet. This is like day one, but
is this the same day that Sir Loras gives her the rose?
Yeah, it might be.
Okay.
I can't remember.
All
it's
right,
definitely the one where the Hound takes her back and she learns about the Hound.
Yeah. Are you doing Friday or no?
No, let's do Monday.
Monday to give it more time.
I just like to have time to do things, to review it and make the notes and everything.
Not a problem. So we will see everybody Monday. Thank you. I have been Old New Dude. He has been
Richard York, Astro's trueborn son.
Everybody have a good weekend. Stay safe. Be careful. COVID is kicking back up a little bit, but
yeah. Especially if you're not vaccinated, man. Some people erroneously think that the vaccines don't work on Omicron and BA.5, but if you look at the hospitalization rate amongst the vaccinated, it's pretty close to zero. But it's still bad to get mild COVID, guys. It's
right.
Mild COVID increases like everything a lot. It could cause serious brain damage and long term it increases your risk of a lot of things.
Yeah, as it goes on and as you like get COVID like a second time or a third time, your chances for long-term COVID increase. And they're talking about I think the time after you get the booster, how quickly it loses its effectiveness. So everybody, please be careful. Like I said, somebody loves you. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you fall on or anything. Just be careful. So
absolutely. Have a good one.
Yeah. Everybody have a good weekend, and we will see you Monday. Y'all be good. Bye.
Bye.